New York City's John F. Kennedy Airport, a staple in the history of not just the aviation industry, but the entire United States. Known worldwide for its status as an airport and what it means to international travel. Almost every year since 2011, this airport has seen over 50 million passengers in its terminals annually, serving a healthy range from passengers from nearby neighbors to travelers from across the globe. As the biggest airport in the biggest metropolitan of the United States, this airport naturally houses operations for every airline you could probably think of. Then on top of that, carriers you've never heard of. Any airline that claims to be global has to have airports like JFK in their route network, not just for the benefit of themselves, but their partners and customers, and the opportunity to compete with their peers. But there's one airline who isn't here, an airline so big most would assume has flights here. An airline that actually once had a remarkable presence at this airport, only to lose it all. An airline that's doing whatever they can to come back. Let's find out why.
By the time of the deregulation of the U.S. airline market in 1978, United Airlines had already implanted themselves as a major player in the industry.
With routes on both coasts, they've had significant holdings in many cities serving east to west traffic. While never a huge carrier in JFK, historically they've served a plethora of routes, from short hops to Cleveland and Washington Dulles to westbound shuttles like Salt Lake City and Las Vegas.
They've even flown long-haul internationals, anchoring non-stop to the cross-ocean gateways Tokyo Narita and London Heathrow, serving both for nearly 20 years. They've also had other services such as Buenos Aires and Hong Kong.
Looking back at their route history though, only one thing had stayed consistent in their entire residency at JFK. Their transcontinentals to their West Coast hubs, San Francisco and Los Angeles. We'll touch more on these later.
While United was figuring out their East Coast presence, across the Hudson River, another carrier was doing the same.
Continental Airlines, like many others, were trying to establish their footing post-deregulation. It didn't go as smoothly as they hoped, filing for bankruptcy in 1983 and again in 1990.
But through the bankruptcies and restructuring, there's one thing they kept afloat: their East Coast hub, just 40 miles away from JFK, Newark.
Growth in Newark was consistent for Continental during their bankruptcies, and substantial after. In 1992, Continental sold their LaGuardia assets and focused more on Newark, a move that would prove beneficial to them. By the year 2000, JFK had over 80 carriers competing against each other, while Continental had Newark mainly for themselves. So they used this to their advantage. Between 1997 and 2001, they doubled their long-haul international destinations out of Newark from 14 to 28. In 2005, they added over a dozen new international destinations network-wide, the largest in company history, adding routes such as Bristol, Hamburg, Stockholm, Beijing, and Delhi in Newark especially.
In 2008, most major U.S. carriers were losing money due to the 2008 economic downturn, resulting in a merger frenzy.
Around this time, rival Delta and Northwest Airlines merged. United and Continental began similar talks. They finally came to an agreement in 2010. As third and fourth largest airlines in the United States, they were now to surpass Delta as the largest.
As the U.S. airline industry consolidated and the three largest carriers became the three legacy carriers, network decisions were made nationwide post-mergers.
For example, Delta and Northwest's now combined network brought too many hubs too close together. As a result, they downgraded Cincinnati's hub status, significantly reducing flights, and have officially dropped Memphis as a hub altogether, citing both to their proximity to other hubs, Detroit and Atlanta.
United and Continental, on the other hand, were in a unique position on the East Coast.
Pre-merger, UA's eastern hubs were Chicago O'Hare and Washington Dulles. They lacked a significant presence in New York, serving just over 1 million passengers to each airport in 2010. And without Newark, United would be the only legacy carrier without a hub in New York City.
So United absorbing Continental and their fortress at Newark is perfect news. There's no need for consolidation here, right? Right? Well, in June of 2015, United made the announcement saying that they were upgrading and increasing their transcontinental flights to Newark, their primary East Coast gateway. A flashy announcement boasting over double-digit departures both ways from San Francisco and LAX, and introducing the premium service live flat seat offerings on their 757-200s. But under the glitz and glamour of the announcement, a second one was quietly released.
Similar to what Continental did in 1992, United would once more be shifting their focus onto Newark. But unlike LaGuardia, they would be completely exiting the market at New York's John F. Kennedy, explaining that they had been unable to make a profit in that airport the past 7 years prior. In 2014, the last full year they had before their departure, United had a 4.65% market share, serving only SFO and LAX on 757s, a stark difference to their heyday at JFK, serving multiple international and connecting destinations. While an interesting decision, even at the time, the announcement wasn't completely out of the blue.
United had slowly been retracting at Kennedy since the early 2000s, the 2008 recession, and especially after the merger with Continental. But in order to completely leave JFK, they would need to gain something in return. United would have to make some executive deals.
The JFK exit deal they came up with would see United give away all their slots at JFK to Delta, and in return, gain some of Delta slots at Newark.
Quick tangent. If you're watching this channel, you probably already know what slots are. If you don't, here's a quick crash course. In places like New York, the metros are so big and the travel demand is high. The only problem is there's only so much gate space, runways, and time. Only so many planes can go in and out during a given day, and that's where slots come into play. A slot is basically the right to use the airport at a specific time and date. This allows organization and regulation over traffic in these busy airports, ensuring no overcrowding of the ground and airspace, thus ensuring safety. While administration and regulation of slots vary from place to place, the concept generally remains the same. The FAA handles slots here in the US, and if you're interested, the public can actually see which slots an airline holds and how many they have. Complemented by the extremely busy neighboring DC and Philadelphia areas, the need for slot constraints are especially important for the New York airspace. The air above New York is consistently one of the busiest in the world, making slots in their airports extremely important and valuable. What makes slots really interesting to me is that they can be exchanged and purchased as a commodity. The same way airplanes are an asset to an airline can be said for the slots an airline holds. Just another bargaining chip for airlines to use when making deals. And that's what happened here with the United and Delta deal. Okay, back to United. Found this at a thrift store, by the way. Why was this deal good for United?
Well, they're putting all their eggs in the Newark basket, focusing on making the Newark product the best they can and moving resources like the workhorse that is the 757 to their new home. In 2013, 2 years before departing JFK, they renewed their lease at Newark and committed an over $150 million investment in improvements to the airport, an investment they would want to make worthwhile. This deal would also rid an operation losing money and at the same time reduce the operation of their closest competitor in their own hub. They also anticipated the introduction of lie-flat seats would entice business traffic away from JFK to Newark. Now, why was this deal bad for United?
Well, a few things. Just a few months after the exit and the Delta deal, United bid to lease even more slots from Delta in Newark, looking to gain even more market share, increase the transcon service, and expand the network in New Jersey through these 24 slots.
Though this endeavor would be shut down from the Department of Justice citing monopoly reasons. It's very likely that this additional slot transaction in Newark was part of the entire JFK exit plan and a crucial step for their future in Newark. But unfortunately for United, this bid failed to see the light of day.
It's also possible that the United team underestimated the preference of JFK or LaGuardia over Newark. Much of the reaction I had seen through my research had shown negative takes from United flyers and New Yorkers whose commute had drastically been affected by the move.
While by distance, the airports are close in proximity, but the time it takes to travel between them is much more drastic. In much of United's marketing for Newark, they almost always mention the distance to New York proper. It's mentioned so much so that it almost feels like a justification.
With this move, United also effectively funneled their network. United is a member of Star Alliance, one of the 3 major global airline partnerships. The year of the JFK exit, there were 17 Star Alliance members serving out of JFK, compared to the 9 at Newark. At the expansive peak of both airports in 2019, there were 19 Star Alliance members serving 31 cities out of JFK, where Newark had 11 members serving 21 cities. Keep in mind, 12 of these United had their own service to, leaving just 9 Star Alliance destinations, adding to United's Newark route network.
Loyal Star Alliance members who wanted to fly to one of the exclusive destinations only served from JFK would have to find their own way to Kennedy. And both the JFK-LaGuardia preference and the lack of further international connectivity at Newark has affected many corporate contracts since the move, according to many industry analysts. Contracts that were probably renegotiated, or worse, even moved to a whole new airline. These contracts are not just exclusive for transcontinental or cross-Atlantic flights, rather business deals to fly business travelers all throughout the world. And unfortunately for United, all this bad would end up outweighing the good after this deal.
And these aren't just my words. United's CEO has said it himself.
Scott Kirby is an industry vet. Starting at America West in 1995, he's held many executive roles at many different airlines, including US Airways and American Airlines. An ambitious yet extremely competitive individual. When American Airlines chose Robert Isom to be president over Kirby, he was quick to leave the airline he had been with for over 2 decades to take the president role at United. Both would end up becoming CEO for their respective airlines, creating a natural rivalry. And Scott Kirby is no stranger to being vocal. He has been since the beginning. He's recently gone on to speak about how Americans' current struggles really make the Big Three into the Big Two, saying there's only room for 2 premium airlines in the US, and firmly stated that all low-cost carriers are destined to die. Not to mention the ongoing turf war in Chicago.
Kirby was with American when United left JFK. Now CEO of United, he's unapologetic when he says that the JFK departure was a decision that shouldn't have happened, specifically mentioning corporate contracts they've lost from the likes of Disney and Time Warner, and how they've both moved on to other airlines.
And it wasn't just American that benefited from UA's departure. No doubt, every other competitor at JFK benefited from the almost 5% of market share United had. Delta, the carrier who gained United's JFK slots, would end up becoming number 1 at JFK, both in market share and in network. Alaska, United's closest competitor at San Francisco, has since entered the JFK market after United's departure, serving SFO 4 times daily and several other transcon offerings, growing to 4% of the market share in JFK, almost what United had.
And there's a reason why LAX and SFO were the 2 destinations that United kept throughout their history, and the last 2 destinations they served from JFK. Los Angeles and San Francisco are the 2 biggest population centers and economies on the West Coast. Today, LAX continues to be the number 1 destination out of New York, with SFO as a close second. On a normal day, there are almost 30 LAX-bound planes out of Kennedy. Bear in mind that American occasionally uses twin-aisle planes like the 787 on these transcons, while Delta exclusively uses wide bodies. You can't win in these places, these gigantic hubs like JFK and LAX. You need to lose to stop others from winning. The only way one can win is if someone stops picking at the crumbs. And that's exactly what United did.
In 2021, due to the effects of the pandemic, reduced travel caused many slots to be up for grabs at JFK, and United grabbed 4 of these, a lucky break.
After 6 years, United had finally returned to JFK. They ran the routes that they knew worked, serving LAX and SFO both 2 times daily. But this endeavor wouldn't last long. As travel demand returned to normal rates, they would end up leaving JFK once more, citing the small amount of slots would be unsustainable against the other carriers and not enough to recoup the lost leisure and business loyalty. But this brief stint probably gave United supporting evidence of what they were missing in their network, and probably helped with their ambition to gain slots back at JFK.
And that's what led to
Blue Sky. That's what United and JetBlue are calling it. This partnership was a long time coming for us nerds who follow closely to the aviation industry.
JetBlue has been in desperate need of a shakeup as they have been underperforming since the pandemic. They've recently been investing in their vacation package subsidiary and looking for a true global partner to complement it. And United has been looking for something that JetBlue has: slots. The deal between the two would see them share loyalty points interchangeably, the opportunity to book flights using either airline system, and most importantly, would give JetBlue 8 slots at Newark and United 7 round-trip slots at JFK.
All 7 slots are expected to be used cross-continental, just like they had done in 2021. Only now do they have enough slots to really eat into the market and compete with the others on these routes. Enough slots to offer an even spread across the day to satisfy business contracts and to connect passengers on any Star Alliance carrier they would like to fly on. Not to mention, CEO Scott Kirby getting revenge points on his previous company, especially after Americans and JetBlue's own negotiations to partner had failed.
In hindsight, this is a great partnership for both airlines, but take a step back, you see that United's giving some of its own slots and global exclusivity away just to gain what it had lost 10 years ago.
While it sometimes doesn't seem like it, airlines are always changing, and United's position in New York alone is a testament to that. If you ask the general public, most would probably assume that a huge carrier like United would serve a huge airport like JFK. But in reality, they had barely touched it in the past decade. United's set to officially return to Kennedy in early 2027, 12 years after their initial departure. No doubt they're going to shake things up at JFK. They have been industry-wise since Scott Kirby has taken the helms.
Since 2020, Kirby's first year as CEO, United's grown substantially, introducing off-the-beaten-path destinations, increasing their financial performance, and innovating their product. They've recently announced their largest aircraft order in company history and have been implanting themselves as a premium carrier, all under Kirby's leadership. And their return to JFK and this partnership will sit well in addition to their ever-growing list of headlines.
The sky is blue for United. I know I and aviation enthusiasts alike are eager to see their return to Kennedy and witness how it turns out, for not just them, but the entire industry as a whole. Thanks for watching.
I'm not one for fairy tale dreams or technical